Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha with News Tonight, where we get you the day's biggest news stories from across India and the world. Let's begin with the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi asserts students will study from new curriculum drawn from the National Education Policy in India's 75th year of independence in 2022. Says the 5 E's of engage, explore, experience, express and excel should form the core of our education system. Joint opposition party candidate Manoj Jha files nomination for election to the post of Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha. Jha to contest against NDA nominee Harivansh. Election to be held on the 14th of September. In the first report presented by any parliamentary committee on the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, department-related standing committee supports virtual court proceedings, calls them an advancement over the existing system and worth embracing. States and union territories told to refrain from restricting oxygen supplies under the pretext of border curbs. Health Secretary reminds governments it's their responsibility to ensure every hospitalized COVID-19 patient gets oxygen. An Indo-US counter-terrorism working group tells Pakistan to take immediate steps to end terrorism on its soil. Joint statement asks Islamabad to hand over culprits of 26/11 Mumbai and Pathankot terror attacks. Students will study under a new curriculum drawn from the National Education Policy when the country celebrates its 75th year of independence in 2022, asserted Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday. Addressing a conclave on school education in the 21st century under the NEP 2020, the Prime Minister said the curriculum will be forward-looking, future-ready and scientific. Addressing students, teachers and parents at an education conclave on Friday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke about the reforms that the new education policy will bring in our education system. He said the new education policy 2020 will give a new direction to the country in the 21st century, sowing seeds for a new era.
इसके पीछे पिछले 4-5 वर्षों की कड़ी मेहनत है। हर क्षेत्र, हर विद्या, हर भाषा के लोगों ने इस पर दिन रात काम किया है। लेकिन ये काम अभी पूरा नहीं हुआ है। एक प्रकार से कहे तो ये काम की असली शुरुआत हुई है। अब हमें राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति को उतने ही प्रभावी तरीके से लागू करना है और ये काम हम सब मिलकर करेंगे।
Modi said the new education policy places a lot of emphasis on children's education, adding that the young generation is vital to the nation's development. He added that education should be linked to the surroundings of students, adding that engage, explore, experience, express and excel should be the new age learning mantra.
साथियों, जब शिक्षा को आस-पास के परिवेश से जोड़ दिया जाता है तो उसका प्रभाव विद्यार्थी के पूरे जीवन पर पड़ता है, पूरे समाज पर भी पड़ता है। हमें इसी तरह के आसान और नए-नए तौर तरीकों को बढ़ाना होगा। हमारे ये प्रयोग न्यू एज लर्निंग का मूल मंत्र होना चाहिए। एंगेज, एक्सप्लोर, एक्सपीरियंस, एक्सप्रेस और एक्सेल।
The Prime Minister said Mark Sheet today has become a pressure sheet for students and a prestige sheet for the families. The new policy, he said, aims to remove this pressure by reducing the syllabus and shifting the focus to strengthening the fundamentals.
लर्निंग को इंटीग्रेटेड एवं इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी, फन बेस्ड और कंप्लीट एक्सपीरियंस बनाने के लिए एक नेशनल करिकुलम फ्रेमवर्क डेवलप किया जाएगा। हमें अपने स्टूडेंट्स को 21st सेंचुरी की स्किल्स के साथ आगे बढ़ाना है। ये 21st सेंचुरी की स्किल्स क्या होगी? ये होगी क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग, क्रिएटिविटी, कोलैबोरेशन, क्यूरियोसिटी और कम्युनिकेशन।
The Prime Minister also emphasized the need for children to study in their mother tongue or local language at least till class 5. He, however, added that the NEP places no bar on learning any language and that children can study English or any international language that they wish. The new education policy approved by the government in July replaces the 34-year-old National Policy on Education framed in 1986 and is aimed at paving the way for transformational reforms in school and higher education systems to make India a global knowledge superpower. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Rajya Sabha member Manoj Kumar Jha of the Rashtriya Janata Dal from Bihar filed his nomination for the election to the post of Deputy Chairman of the Upper House on Friday. Jha is the joint candidate of opposition parties.
RJD member Manoj Jha filed his nomination papers on Friday in the presence of opposition party leaders. Jha is contesting against NDA's nominee Harivansh of the JDU.
Contesting it on behalf of almost entire opposition, just to convey a message that in parliamentary democracy, contest doesn't make each other enemies of each other. It is not between two individuals. It is between two alternative voices, two alternative narratives. I see this election precisely for this reason. We'll appeal to all parties, maybe some within the NDA, that please make sure that in the best interest of parliamentary democracy, the health of democracy, the position of deputy chairman should be offered to opposition benches.
The Congress, Samajwadi Party, Trinamool Congress, NCP, DMK, Shiv Sena, Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, Kerala Congress, Communist Party of India, Communist Party of India Marxist and Indian Union Muslim League are supporting the RJD candidate for the post.
Like-minded parties have decided that we should contest on the basis of the principles. We may lose, we may win. This is not a big question. In politics, one loses, one wins. But the principles behind the politics are most important.
The post of Deputy Chairman fell vacant after the term of Harivansh, a Janata Dal United member, ended in April. He was re-elected as Rajya Sabha member in April. Election to the post of Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha will be held on 14th of September. This is Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
The National Democratic Alliance has once again chosen JDU MP Harivansh as its candidate for the Rajya Sabha Deputy Chairman's post. Harivansh was first elected to the post in the year 2018, then demitted office as his Rajya Sabha term ended this year. But he has since been re-elected to the House, making him eligible to hold the post once again. On August 8, 2018, Janata Dal United MP Harivansh was elected as Rajya Sabha Deputy Chairman, defeating opposition candidate B.K. Hariprasad. Harivansh was NDA's candidate for the post. He was the third person ever to hold the post of Rajya Sabha Deputy Chairman who was not from the Indian National Congress. Born on June 30, 1956 in Uttar Pradesh's Balia, Harivansh is a postgraduate in economics and has a PG diploma in journalism from the Banaras Hindu University. He has also authored and edited several books in Hindi, especially on Bihar and Jharkhand. During his college days, Harivansh was influenced by socialist leader Jai Prakash Narayan and participated actively in the JP movement of 1974.
Harivansh worked at the Bank of India before leaving to follow his passion for journalism. He joined Hindi daily Prabhat Khabar in Ranchi in 1989 and rose to become its editor-in-chief. When Chandrasekhar became the Prime Minister in 1990, Harivansh was roped in as his additional media advisor. Known as a close aide of Nitish Kumar, Harivansh was first elected to the Rajya Sabha in April 2014.
In this report, let's take a look at Manoj Jha's political journey.
Manoj Jha is a familiar face in Indian politics. He is a spokesperson of the Rashtriya Janata Dal and a Rajya Sabha member. On 15th March 2018, he was elected unopposed to the Rajya Sabha from the state of Bihar. Since June 2018, he has served as member on several parliamentary standing committees. Born on August 5, 1967 in Bihar's Saharsa, Manoj Jha completed his Masters from the Department of Social Work, Delhi University in 1992 and his PhD in 2000. He has been a professor at the Department of Social Work in the University of Delhi since 2002 and was its head between 2014 and 2017. His research interest also includes political economy and governance, social action and social movements, majority-minority relations, and peace and conflict studies. He has also published several articles. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The government has listed 23 new bills for introduction in Parliament's monsoon session that starts from Monday. These include 11 bills that will replace various ordinances. Among them is an ordinance that aims to prevent violence against healthcare personnel. It makes acts of violence and harassment against healthcare personnel combating COVID-19 a non-bailable offence with a maximum punishment of 7 years imprisonment and 5 lakh rupees fine. Another ordinance that will be replaced relates to reduction in the salary of MPs by 30% for 1 year, beginning 1st April 2020. The amount will be utilized in the fight against the novel coronavirus. The Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Bill 2020 will replace the ordinance to create an ecosystem where farmers and traders have the freedom to choose what produce they wish to sell and buy. This is aimed at facilitating remunerative prices through competitive alternative trading channels. Among the bills that the government has listed for introduction is the Jammu and Kashmir Official Language Bill 2020. It makes Kashmiri, Dogri and Hindi, along with the existing Urdu and English, the official languages in the Union Territory. According to the Lok Sabha Bulletin, the Multi-State Cooperative Societies Amendment Bill 2020 has also been listed for introduction. The bill seeks to rationalize government role and increase participation of members in the working of the multi-state cooperative societies to increase public faith in these societies and create a conducive environment for their growth and development. Other bills listed for introduction are the Factoring Regulation Amendment Bill 2020 and the Prohibition of Employment as Manual Scavengers and their Rehabilitation Amendment Bill 2020. The Lok Sabha will also discuss and vote on the first batch of supplementary demands for grants for the year 2020-21. It will also take up discussion and voting on the excess demands for grants for the year 2016-17. And let's now take a look at the legislative and other government business that will be taken up during the 252nd session of the Rajya Sabha. The Pesticides Management Bill 2020, introduced on 23rd of March 2020, will be moved for consideration and passing. The bill seeks to repeal the Insecticides Act 1968 and remove inadequacies of extant regulations. Among the bills passed by Lok Sabha and pending in Rajya Sabha are the Interstate River Water Disputes Amendment Bill 2019. The bill was passed by Lok Sabha on 31st of July 2019. The Dam Safety Bill 2019 passed by Lok Sabha on 5th August 2019. The Aircraft Amendment Bill 2020. The Institute of Teaching and Research in Ayurveda Bill 2020. Lok Sabha passed this bill on 19th March 2020. The Indian Institutes of Information Technology Laws Amendment Bill 2020. The Medical Termination of Pregnancy Amendment Bill 2020. The Surrogacy Regulation Bill 2019. That was passed by Lok Sabha on 5th August 2019. The bill, as passed by the Lok Sabha, was referred to a select committee of the Rajya Sabha on a motion moved by the minister in charge and adopted by the House on 21st November 2019. And report of the select committee was presented on 5th of February this year. The legislative business also includes new bills and those that are pending in Lok Sabha. The financial business includes consideration and return of the appropriation bill relating to the first batch of supplementary demands for grants for the year 2020-21 and discussion and return of the appropriation bill relating to the excess demands for grants for the year 2016-17. Asserting that a court is more a service than a place, the department-related Standing Committee on Personnel, Public Grievances, Law and Justice recommended continuation of virtual courts even after the COVID-19 pandemic gets over.
Rajya Sabha member and chairman of committee Bhupender Yadav on Friday submitted an interim report on the functioning of the virtual courts or court proceedings to Rajya Sabha chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu. This report, presented through video conferencing, is the first by any parliamentary panel on the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The committee opined that court is more a service than a place, thereby supporting virtual court proceedings being resorted to ever since the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown in March 2020. To the reservations expressed by representatives of the bar about the virtual court proceedings, the committee said virtual courts have their own shortcomings. However, they constitute advancement over the existing system and therefore, on the overall, they are worth embracing. The committee further said it is time the courtroom opens its doors to the latest technology. Defending virtual courts, the parliamentary committee said digital justice is cheaper and faster and addresses locational and economic handicaps. It said digital approach also ensures safety of vulnerable witnesses and expedites processes and procedures. The committee also called digital justice an improvement over traditional courts in being affordable, citizen-friendly and offering greater access to justice. The committee said the virtual courts had shortcomings in the form of limitations of access, connectivity and skills. It urged the government to enable necessary infrastructure to integrate virtual courts to the country's legal ecosystem. Government representatives explained various initiatives being taken to put in place a centralized virtual courts infrastructure and to connect the district courts. The committee recommended that the virtual court proceedings be continued beyond the pandemic duration for identified categories of cases with the consent of all parties.
कि अच्छे न्यायिक शासन के लिए न्यायपूर्ण और लोगों के लिए सस्ता, सरल, सुलभ न्याय होना चाहिए। उसमें वर्चुअल कोर्ट का एक प्रयोग हुआ है। कोविड के दौरान लगभग कई लाख केस भी कोर्ट के द्वारा डिस्पोज किए गए हैं। क्योंकि अब इस टेक्नोलॉजी का प्रयोग किया गया है तो नीचे के स्तर पर जो इसमें कमियां हैं दिखते हैं उनको कैसे दूर किया जाए। केंद्र सरकार द्वारा जो ई कोर्ट का प्रोजेक्ट चल रहा है उस ई कोर्ट के प्रोजेक्ट को इसके माध्यम से कैसे जोड़ करके कोर्टों को सक्षम और प्रभावी बनाया जाए। और उसके साथ ही साथ इस मामले में हमने बार एसोसिएशन से लेकर सुप्रीम कोर्ट के सेक्रेटरी जनरल और मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ लॉ एंड जस्टिस से भी कमेटी ने पूरा कंसल्टेशन किया था। उन विषयों के आधार पर वर्चुअल कोर्ट को भविष्य में स्ट्रेंथ करने के लिए आज हमने रिपोर्ट माननीय चेयरमैन साहब को पेश की।
Let's now take a look at the COVID-19 situation in the country. India reported another day of a record surge in cases and deaths. In the last 3 days, India has recorded 281,000 cases of COVID-19.
Another record single-day surge of coronavirus cases and deaths on Friday. 96,551 new infections and 1,209 deaths in the last 24 hours took total infections in the country past 45 lakh. India has lost till date 76,271,000 lives to the pandemic. 35.42 lakh people have recovered, giving a recovery rate of 77.65%. Active cases are close to 10 lakh. Over 5.4 crore samples have been tested so far, including 11.63 lakh samples on Friday. Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and Tamil Nadu are the top 5 states with the biggest 24-hour jump in total cases. Maharashtra, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh contribute 49% of active cases. Delhi, West Bengal, Bihar, Telangana and Odisha are the other states with the maximum caseload in the country. Delhi had another record single-day surge with 4,309 new infections for the second day in a row. Overall tally crossed 2 lakh and the death toll rose to 4,666 with 28 COVID-19 fatalities in the last 24 hours in the national capital. Neighbouring Gurugram in Haryana also saw a surge in cases this month. While the district recorded 2,800 COVID-19 cases in August, it saw over 1,900 fresh cases in the first 8 days of September. Gurugram had 7 deaths in September and 10 in August. Jharkhand had 1,152 new COVID-19 cases and 2 deaths on Thursday. Cases in the state total 58,079, including 42,115 recoveries, 517 deaths and 15,447 active cases. Himachal Pradesh recorded 22 new COVID-19 positive cases. Total cases in the state are 8,512, including 2,706 active cases, 5,726 recoveries and 66 deaths. Even as India reports a high number of recoveries, cases are growing at the fastest pace. Total cases in India are growing at 2.1% compared to 0.6% in the United States, the worst affected country globally, with close to 64 lakh cases. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Ahead of the monsoon session of Parliament next week, the COVID-19 RT-PCR test for members of Parliament began at the Parliament House complex on Friday. Guidelines issued for the monsoon session of Parliament state that everyone entering the Parliament building, including the MPs, will have to undergo the RT-PCR test at least 72 hours before the session starts. No visitors will be allowed entry during the session.
संसद परिसर में जो भी लोग आएंगे, सबका कोविड टेस्ट अनिवार्य होगा, ताकि हम हर संसद परिसर में आने वाले व्यक्ति को सुरक्षा की दृष्टि से भी और स्वास्थ्य की दृष्टि से भी सुरक्षित रख सकें.
The Union Health Ministry said on Friday that no restriction should be imposed on interstate movement of medical oxygen. The ministry also strongly reinforced that it is the responsibility of every state and union territory to ensure that hospitalized COVID-19 patients receive oxygen. The ministry's directive comes after it was found that a few states were trying to curb free interstate movement of oxygen supplies by exercising provisions under various acts. In a letter to states and union territories, Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan has emphasized that availability of adequate and uninterrupted supply of medical oxygen is an important prerequisite for managing moderate and severe cases of COVID-19. Bhushan has urged states and union territories to ensure that no restriction is imposed on the movement of medical oxygen between them. Close to 64 lakh Indians were exposed to coronavirus infection by early May, according to the findings of the first national sero survey conducted by the ICMR. The survey, conducted from 11th May to the 4th of June, covered 28,000 individuals in 30,283 households whose samples were tested for antibodies. 700 villages and wards from 70 districts in 21 states were covered. The results published in the Indian Journal of Medical Research indicate that seropositivity was the highest in the age group of 18 to 45 years at 43.3%. It was followed by those between 46 to 60 years of age at 39.5% and the lowest among those aged above 60 years at 17.2%. Around 70% positive people from rural areas, 16% people were from urban slum areas and the rest from urban non-slum areas. India and the US have called on Pakistan to take immediate, sustained and irreversible action to ensure that its territory is not used for terror attacks and to speedily bring to justice the perpetrators of the 2008 Mumbai and 2016 Pathankot attacks. These issues figured in the 17th meeting of the US-India Joint Working Group on Counter-Terrorism and the third session of the Designations Dialogue held virtually on the 9th and 10th of September.
take action against perpetrators of Mumbai and Pathankot terror attacks. This was the message to Pakistan from the 17th meeting of the US-India Joint Working Group on Counter-Terrorism and the third session of the Designations Dialogue. The virtual talks were led by India's Mahavir Singhvi, Joint Secretary for Counter-Terrorism in the External Affairs Ministry, and US State Department's Nathan Sales. According to the joint statement, India and US underlined the urgent need for Pakistan to take immediate, sustained and irreversible action to ensure that no territory under its control is used for terrorist attacks. Both sought expeditious action to bring to justice perpetrators of such attacks, including 26/11 Mumbai and Pathankot. Both sides also denounced the use of terrorist proxies and condemned cross-border terrorism in all forms. They also exchanged views on threats posed by terrorist entities who are facing UN sanctions. India and the US also shared information about their priorities and procedures to pursue sanctions and designations against terror groups and individuals. The 2008 Mumbai attacks carried out by 10 LET terrorists from Pakistan left 166 people dead, including 6 US nationals. Pakistani security agencies arrested 7 men, including LET operations commander Zakiur Rahman Lakhvi, for planning, financing and supporting the attacks, but there has been little progress in their trial so far. The Jaish-e-Mohammed carried out the 2016 Pathankot attack that resulted in the death of 7 Indian troops.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Friday held a high-level meeting to review the situation at the line of actual control.
NSA Ajit Doval, Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat, the 3 services chiefs and top Defence Ministry officials attended a high-level meeting at the South Block office. The meeting coincided with India-China Brigade Commanders level interaction at the line of actual control in eastern Ladakh on Friday morning. The daily interactions have been taking place for the last many days, except on Monday and Tuesday when the Chinese side allegedly indulged in provocative action around Rezangla at LAC. The talks are aimed at exchanging views on daily activities to preempt misunderstandings and ensure that communication lines are open. The meetings are taking place amid heightened tensions between the two countries, triggered by China's fresh attempts to occupy Indian territory in the southern bank of Pangong Lake.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has called for urgent revival of sporting culture in India. He said that games and sports and even yoga or any other physical activity must become integral to people's daily routine for good health and also a stress-free life. Delivering a congratulatory address to Punjab University for winning the coveted Maulana Abul Kalam Azad Trophy for the top-performing university in sports for the 2nd time in a row, the Vice President stressed the need for schools and other educational institutions to actively promote sports and games.
Sports and games form a crucial part of our lives. They improve our physical fitness, improve our cognitive abilities, and in the case of team games, enhance our social skills. Participating in games and various sports will improve the concentration level of an individual, promote the concept of teamwork, and help in developing an attitude of equanimity.
Stressing the need to identify sporting talent from a young age, the Vice President called for the creation of an effective and comprehensive talent monitoring and scouting system to achieve this very objective. Highlighting the need to upgrade sporting infrastructure in the country, especially in the rural areas, Naidu also called for creating a large pool of homegrown, highly skilled Indian coaches.
I'm happy that the Prime Minister Narendra Bhai Modi's initiative Fit India campaign encourages people to stay fit and healthy. Half of the time in classroom, remaining time in the field, be it agriculture field or sports field or social welfare, you must spend enough time in these activities also.
The Vice President has also stressed on the need to impart value-based education for all-round development of an individual. He also said that there was a need to move beyond academics and making value-based teaching and learning an integral part of our education system. The Vice President was speaking at the online launch of Heartfulness All India Essay Writing event organized by Sri Ramchandra Mission in partnership with the United Nations Information Center for India and Bhutan. The event is held every year to commemorate the United Nations International Day of the Youth between the months of July and November.
All our teachings from ancient times laid great emphasis on value-based education for all-round development of the individual, be it social, emotional, mental, physical, intellectual and spiritual facets of life. The National Education Policy unveiled in 2020 lays great focus on value-based education. I am happy. It also highlights the importance of an education system that helps individuals to develop the right habits, values, discipline, and punctuality, amongst others. It seeks to promote multidisciplinary approach and ensure holistic development of the students.
And that's it from us in this bulletin. Thank you for your time. Good night.